So welcome to this week's episode of Leadership Soundbites with Michelle and my ultra special guest, Vaughn Williams. I'm going to read everything because there's a lot of letters on my paper around Vaughn's title and who he's with. Chief Operating Officer, Cedar Hill Regional Medical Center, part of George Washington Health, part of UHS.
There you go.
There you go. But I had to write it down. Okay. This was not anything I'm going to commit to memory. I'm Vaughn and I met back at Cedar Health. You were an administrative fellow. You
Yep.
worked over in the Bay side of it, and you and I really didn't get to know each other until you came onto the Valley side.
Yep.
So Cedar was divided into Bay and Valley at one point. And I had the privilege of working with you, and in that process, watching you grow.
Yeah.
The touch points, and I was joking around before I hit record, is you and I ended up at a walk at Martin Luther King walk, and let me back up. Let me do the quote, and then it will make sense.
Yeah.
So the quote that we landed on for you, Vaughn, that I mean literally is you in a nutshell, okay, is from Gretzky, and it's you miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
Yeah.
And so when I think of you, you are all about 100% of those shots.
Yeah.
So now the Martin Luther King walk story comes in, right? So you and I meet, people are dressed up in jeans, it's cold on a Saturday morning or whatever, Monday morning, whatever day it was, right? Monday
Yeah.
morning, I think. And I look down and you've got dress shoes on for this walk that we're going to be going on. I'm like, Vaughn, but
Yeah.
dress shoes?
Hopefully
You had,
nice dress shoes though, right?
they were very nice dress shoes, very nice dress shoes. But you had a meeting later on.
Yeah.
And so for me, it was like you were all about, I'm going to do this, I'm going to go do that. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I appreciate that about you. I appreciated it then. You made me laugh. I appreciate it now. And I think a lot of it has to do with your career and, how you've navigated
Yeah.
and developed through it. So welcome to
Thank
the
you.
conversation. And I would love to hear about some standouts for you, some things that come to mind for you around your journey from where you were when we met. I think you started Cedar in 2017. We met around 2018.
Yep. Yep.
Um, so it hasn't been that long, but
Yeah.
you've accomplished a lot.
Yeah.
And I'm super excited for you.
Yes, it's gone by, but quickly, and thanks again, Michelle. I've been fortunate to call you a colleague. I learned from you, I've been in your classes, call you a friend, and so and also a fan of your show. So thank you for having me.
Thank you.
And Sutter Health was such a great time and such a great pivotal part of my life. And, I think as I go back to that quote, the 100, you miss 100% of shots you don't take.
Mhm.
It's really all about, building relationships at the end of the day. And you have 24 hours in a day. You have this finite time. How do you maximize that time and meet great people, get great experiences, and grow throughout your journey? And so it was important for me to be at that walk due to what
Yeah.
MLK represents and that event for Sutter Health, right?
Mhm.
It was good for me to be there to meet great individuals like yourself, right? And meet new people, see people that I've worked with, known like Flo, who was there at the time, Teresa Fryer, Trina White.
Mhm.
And it was important for me to be at that meeting after that, right?
Yes.
And be present and be attentive and be impactful in the conversations that I was privileged to be a part of. And so, I take a lot of great pride in doing a lot of things and meeting a lot of people and being involved in a lot of projects and entities, but making sure that we get things done effectively, impactfully, and at the right approach. So,
Yeah. I have a question for you because when I think about that stuff, you came through as a fellow. When you look back, and it can be before Sutter Health on, when you look back on your career and stuff, what is a pivotal moment for you that stands out that you look back and go, if I hadn't done that thing, I I would be in a completely different trajectory. Is there
yeah,
anything like that that stands out for you?
there are few, Michelle. I stand on the shoulders of great leaders, and so there have been a few key people, few key conversations that had really, taken me from good to great, from here to there. At Sutter Health, I was fortunate enough to be a part of the fellowship program, And during that interview process, I was able to connect with a lot of great leaders in the organization, some corporate system leaders, some regional leaders. And so in between the time that I got the offer, right, and when I started, I made sure to reach out to all of the people that were part of my interview process.
Mm,
And part of that conversation was not only just to introduce myself and also get to know them a little bit more, but it really was to get insight, perspective, how to be impactful
hmm.
and help the organization move forward in the right direction. And so it allowed them to get to know me a little bit more,
Hmm.
allow me to get to know them a little bit more. And then they also saw that I was coming to be impactful. I was coming to to make mistakes at times, but to learn
Yeah.
from them, right, and move the organization in the right direction. And part of that group was Teresa Fry. And so
Yeah.
Teresa Fry was a part of my panel. She gave me insight on how to be effective as a fellow. And then from there, as we stayed connected throughout my fellowship, she connected me to my first opportunity post fellowship, was a director role in the Valley area, which
Yeah.
was great. And so times like that with Teresa, met Trina White during that time, who ended up being my boss after that. Before that, I met pivotal people who even got me into healthcare administration, right? Dr. Palermo at Mount Sinai,
Yeah.
Dr. Butts, Tim Gillard, Dr. Lichtenstein, University of Michigan. So all my kind of steps have been a result of people telling me about those opportunities and then sponsoring me and helping me to get to the next. And I'm privileged enough to.
You know what? You know what I heard though, Vaughn, because it's not just about I was in the room and they go, "Hey,
Yeah.
look over here, Vaughn.
Yeah.
This is what you can do."
Yeah.
What I heard is, and this is key for people, right? Because a lot of times people go, "Well, they didn't pick me."
Yeah.
Did you raise your hand? Did you go forward and go, "You know what? This is what I truly want. How can I help you? What do I need to do? How, and you were open to learning
Mm-hmm.
about what those steps look like. It's like to reach out to Teresa Fry and other leaders to say, "Hey, this is my goal.
Yeah.
I want to be impactful. I want to do the best possible job I can do." From your perspective, sitting in the seat that you're in, what does that look like? And
Yeah.
I have to think that there's a lot of people that miss opportunities because they don't do that. They don't take the initiative.
Yeah, yeah. I think that at the foundation level, it's about building genuine relationships, right?
Hmm.
So with these people, I had a vested interest into them. They had a vested interest into me. And you can tell when people aren't being their full authentic self, right? When they're talking
Yep.
to you just because they want a job opportunity. And I really didn't have that approach. I mean, if a job opportunity came about, I wouldn't say no, which, I'm fortunate if they did. But it was really about, how do I build relationships? How do I help
Hmm.
this individual? And in return, they or somebody else may help me. And then with that, as you mentioned a little bit earlier, I always raised my hand. I never said
Hmm.
no for opportunity. So Teresa, Trina, a bunch of my, old bosses, and even my current leaders here,
Yeah.
they expect a lot out of me, right? And they'll say, "Hey, we're here. We're at this particular metric. We need to get here. These are some resources at your disposal. I don't have all the answers. Neither do you, but figure it out, right?" And
Hmm.
so that trust and that raising your hand to say yes and then figuring out after, and then leveraging things like lean, which you and I have talked about before,
Yeah.
of course, and project management and those kind of core competencies, that toolkit to get the job done, is really how it all kind of aligned and helped me out. So
Yeah.
it's all, again, the foundation is building relationships,
I
driving.
love it. And go back. You and I had we'd met beforehand just to kind of touch base and figure out some themes. And you said something that your mom said or your grandmother said
Yeah,
that you brought me back about not being, don't do it because you expect something back,
yeah,
right? Help basically be there to help people because you're going to help people.
yeah, yeah,
And that is that you don't have an ulterior motive,
yeah,
right? You just know that this is the foundation and you're about building those relationships and about people. And that's what leadership's about too. When I think about it, it's like if you were, and this is an overused phrase, but I'm a servant leader. So if
yeah.
you are in service to others, right?
Mhm.
If you're coming in as a leader going, okay, I'm going to develop my people, I'm going to create opportunities for them, I'm going to support them in doing this stuff, I'm going to, develop, make those connections for them. It doesn't have to be about you.
Yeah.
But what will happen is your team will highlight you.
Yep.
They
Exactly.
just automatically do it versus the leader that goes, yeah, I did this. And your
Yep.
team's sitting back there going, you weren't on an island by yourself, dude. You
Yeah.
know, I mean,
Exactly.
we were all here with you.
Yep. Yep. Exactly. Exactly, Michelle, I think the story that we were talking about is one point in my life, my dad had severe health issues. And so my mom and my dad were both navigating this complicated healthcare system, right?
Mm-hmm.
As we all know. And there were certain kind of paths they could have gone, right? They could have gone and had this particular treatment, right? Or this particular, hey, we're going to cut your foot off, or you could do physical therapy, right? And they had a hard time navigating that space, but there was a couple
Yeah.
of key people in key places that really helped direct them, whether it was a nurse, it could
Mm.
have been a tech, it could have been an assistant, it could have been somebody on the street, right? A social worker. And so,
Mm-hmm.
and after that experience, they were just so thankful for what people who they didn't even know poured into them. And it
Mm-hmm.
emphasized that those kind of things come to you when you help other people, right?
Mm-hmm.
That help comes back tenfold. And so
Yep.
I say all that to say that's been my mantra. And I
Mm-hmm.
think the benefit of kind of coming up the way I did, where I wasn't the expert all the time, right? I didn't have the 20, 30 years of experience, which is valuable. I don't want to undermine
Mm-hmm.
that. But I had to work with the people that did the work to get the job done because
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know how to get the job done, right? And especially at that time. And so as you start off your career like that, if you start off going to the Gemba, working with the people doing the work, being truly collaborative, and it's not a yes man or not, it's a balance. You're still a leader, right? You're still holding people accountable, but you also ask them to hold you accountable too. And
Mm-hmm.
you get that muscle memory. And I saw that in one of your other videos, right? That muscle memory
Brian
of doing
Stewart's.
that, right, of countless times, it just becomes
Yeah.
your DNA. And so now I'm in a place where I have the experience. I do know a lot, but at the same time, the more you know, the more you realize what you don't know, right? And so
Yes.
I'm still leveraging those skill sets to get the job done in an impactful way.
Well, and the thing is, what you're talking about is we know, and I'm going to go back to a quote, and it was in when you were in the classroom with me on A3 thinking. It was a quote there. It's like until I knew there's a couple of them that came to mind. Until I knew where your thinking was at, I didn't know what question you needed. But it's also the thing of you know what you know, right? And you've got all this experience now behind you, but you don't necessarily know the truth in this story. This
Yeah.
story being whatever the situation, whatever the environment is, it's in front of you.
Yep.
And I think one of the fatal, I'm not going to say fatal, one I did, but I'm going to take it back.
You can.
One of the mistakes, yeah, was just undo, erase. You didn't hear that. I think one of the mistakes that we can step into as leaders, and especially the longer that we've been on this earth, is to think that this stuff that we lived through before is in fact what's happening before us now.
Exactly.
And we in essence put blinders on.
Yep.
So part of the thing is, to your point, is to say, I do have more experience, but I don't know everything.
Yeah.
And the longer we're here, we realize, holy cow, there's like a world out there we don't even know about. But what we do know, we know.
Absolutely.
But that we get in trouble with the stuff that we don't realize we don't know. And so I think that's the piece of it. And I have to laugh because the situations that we've been in that I've watched you step into stuff, and I want this to be an important lesson for people is if someone goes, hey, what about such and such? Are you interested in doing whatever, right? And in your head you're going, yeah, and you're also going, holy crap,
Yep.
because I don't know how to do that job.
Yep.
But here's the beauty of it, because I've been in those situations so many times,
Mhm.
is that network and those connections that you built, those people will step in and help you.
Absolutely.
And that's the thing. I remember stepping into roles at Cedar, manager of education and standards. I had never done that before. I was a finance director.
Yeah.
I was lead process improvement, right?
Yeah.
And then I'm asked but I tapped into Carol Bennett. I tapped into Rocco Miles. I tapped into other people that knew. And I said, I need your help to do this because I actually have to do it in a week.
Yep. Yep. Exactly. Yeah. And
Um,
you get,
it's
sorry.
invaluable. No, you're fine. Go.
I'm saying you get comfortable being uncomfortable, right? I mean,
Yes.
you start, you you're able to work in the space of ambiguity, and it's great. It's great, and I think that's where I'm at now, right? I'm in a place where I'm happy. I'm so
Mm-hmm.
happy from a role perspective and what we're doing to serve the DC community. I love my boss Tony, my boss's boss Kim. I mean, we have a great team here, right? And we're serving a great purpose as we work with the government and other partners.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I'm leveraging all of that to make sure I'm impactful in this role, right? I don't
Mm-hmm.
know. I'm still learning DC community, right? I'm still learning this position, and so
Mm-hmm.
it's a lot of ambiguity to it, but I'm comfortable in it.
Oh,
And
you just came, you just moved from, because so you and I worked together in California.
yep.
Were you in Texas for a while?
I was in Vegas after California.
Vegas.
Yep, yep.
Sorry, I knew it was another state.
All good, all good. Super Bowl is there coming, so it's should be a
I
good
guessed
time.
the wrong one. I guessed the wrong one. So you're in Vegas, and then Vegas to now you're on the East Coast,
East Coast, yeah,
in Washington, D.C., which is closer to where you grew up, which is
yeah,
awesome for you.
yeah.
But it's you just made this move, what, December, January?
Moved there actually October, end of October.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So, I mean, you are still settling in, and you guys, I saw on LinkedIn, I think you're doing construction.
Yep, yeah.
So, how much of that have you done before?
Done some, right, on a smaller scale, right? I've been
Yeah.
involved in building towers.
Yeah.
Even on a smaller scale, been involved in acquisitions back at Sutter. Sutter, there was some kind
Yeah.
of physical plant approach. But this is a whole different magnitude, right? But
Yeah.
been privileged enough to work with a tremendous team. I mean,
Yeah.
just world-renowned partners, if you will, to get the job
Yeah.
done, right? And it's fun. I don't have too much. I'm not afraid of the opportunity, right?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
sometimes I think you do sometimes pinch yourself and say, is this real, right? Is this really me in this position? But I think for the most part, I'm privileged, I'm honored to be here. And we're gonna do great work. And I'm gonna be different and better coming out this opportunity than
Yeah.
going into it, right?
No,
And
you
so
hands down you will. Yeah,
yeah,
hands down you will. And
absolutely.
I look at just those kind of opportunities because what happens is your brain, you're building up your knowledge and your experience stuff that you can draw from. And it just, for me, it just readies you for the next open door. And that's what all this stuff is as we go through it. I remember back when I first started in healthcare, I was overseeing the financial end of an expansion, and it was a very small, and I'm going to loosely call it system, okay, but
Yeah,
in a rural hospital. But we were doing a remodel expansion to a SNF facility that we had. So once you start going through that and realize flow and the whole project management piece and everything else, you don't unlearn that.
yeah, you don't.
So that foundation and that learning carries you forward in other things. You're like, yeah, I've got some experience. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
shoot, let's go.
yeah. And it comes back and help you, right? I mean, so before Sutter, I worked at Michigan when I was a student at Michigan, a grad student.
Yeah.
I worked as an analyst and a project manager, right? And so I was able to refine some of those analytical skills and kind of the project management toolkit, right?
Hmm.
Use those skills. In addition, I got my Lean Six Sigma Green Belt certificate. And so that's Lean Project Management, Data Analytics. Use
Hmm.
that to help as a fellow when I was overseeing departments at Alta Bates and
Yeah.
union issues and multiple campuses and service line stuff and all that kind of encompassed and helped me in that role, right? And then I moved to the foundation end where I was managing the project management team, managing some of the back office functions.
Hmm.
Really, the system way of thinking I think was great. Managing clinics, managing acquisitions and things like that. My
Hmm.
role has grown. But then now, when I moved from there on the outpatient side and kind of larger market perspective to now, back in UHS on the hospital side and in this role, building out a market, my experience from the outpatient side is coming back as we looked at outpatient services now, right? And so
Bingo.
I'm able to
Yep.
kind of to hint on and lean on those experiences, those templates, right? And really those people too, right? I mean, if I'm going through
And
a
you understand the pain points
yeah,
from different perspectives, right? So it's not that you've just siloed yourself into the acute care world that you really don't have any visibility or understanding those handoffs.
Yep.
and the value of those handoffs, right? And then the pain points that happen on the ambulatory side when those handoffs aren't done the best that they could be done.
Exactly.
And I think when you have the visibility, I mean, I did process improvement forever, and obviously, facilitating that stuff. But unless you put yourself in a position to view all that stuff,
Yeah.
you can get into siloed thinking and not realize the unintentional downstream impact that
Yeah.
you could have on somebody that you're handing off to. And oh, by the way, the patient's experiencing all of it.
Exactly. Exactly. Which is the priority.
So
So
yeah,
I'm
it's
I'm in total,
invaluable.
yeah, I'm in total agreement with you, and
Yeah,
I'm big on process too and structure. And so within all these experiences is also allowing me to get perspectives to other people, right? And
yeah.
so I'm always thinking about how to help the next generation, the next person behind me. And what I tell them is good to like I said, be comfortable being uncomfortable
Hmm.
and getting those experiences. So you're a Swiss Army knife and you can pull out whatever you want when the time is right and when time is needed.
A fork, a spoon,
Yeah, whatever, right?
corkscrew.
The wine opener, whatever
It's all here. I
the
got it all.
so yeah.
Um, Thank you for your time. I've missed hanging out with you, sir.
Ooh, me too. This
Yeah.
is mutual.
Um, if you look back on just our conversation or the journey that you've had, let's just condense it all into 5 seconds.
Yeah.
What are one or two things that for you are standouts for people to pay attention to, or lessons learned, or something that you want to pass on? Yeah, if you do nothing else, this is it.
Yeah, I think it's a couple things. One, we said it countless times, but it's the power of genuine symbiotic relationships. I
Mm-hmm.
think at that foundation, you can leverage that to learn. You can leverage that for your next steps, and then with that, you're given an opportunity, and given experiences, and given insights to other people, and so
Mm-hmm.
that needs to be at your foundation. And again, going back to that muscle memory approach, that needs to be part of your leadership DNA. Uh,
Yeah.
I think too, as you think of career development, my advice is to be intentional, right? But so think about steps and think about opportunities.
Mm-hmm.
Also have some fluidity with it, right? You don't need to have this particular role to have this particular role to have this
Yeah.
particular role, right? I really think of it more as what competencies do you develop? So if you want to
Mm-hmm.
be a system CEO, he or she needs to have, let's say, six kind of competencies, right? Whether it's strategic development, operational experience, community engagement, all those different things,
Mm-hmm.
and work backwards, right? And so how do you get to the next step? How do you get those competencies is more important. Just saying I need to be a COO at 35 and this role at 38. And that gives you some flexibility to really take on positions, take on projects
Mm-hmm.
without the pressure of questioning yourself, is this the right move? And so those are the
Yeah.
two things. I think it's really around strong relationships, strong connections with people.
Mm-hmm.
And then really, how do you develop competencies to be impactful in your next two positions?
Yeah. Um, Thank you for that. I'll piggyback on because a couple things came to mind for me when you were talking is there isn't just one way to get from where you are today to where you want to be. And that's part of the thing that you're talking about is, that it's a varied path.
Absolutely.
I think one of the things that comes to mind for me around that is to let people know where you want to go.
Yep.
This
Yeah.
is what I aspire to be. And I
Yep.
think a lot of times people are intimidated to say it
Yep.
because they don't feel like they're ready. And it's like, and I coach leaders all the time. It's like, we're 3 to 5 years. Where do you see yourself?
Yep.
Well, maybe I said, throw it out. Don't be afraid because they know.
Yeah.
They know what they want. They're afraid
Yep.
to say it.
Yep.
And it's like, stake the claim.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because if you don't stake the claim, okay, and you know what it is, things will not start aligning.
Yep.
People can't help you. So be bold. You
Yep.
talk about scary stuff. I want to be your job when you move on, that kind of thing. Okay, great. Let's see what we need to do to get you ready.
Right. Right. And I've been transparent with all my leaders about that,
Yep.
right? And again, like you said, it's a tactful way to approach it. It's not, hey, I want your job tomorrow. No,
No.
it's not that. It's hey, these are the next steps I'm thinking of, right?
Yep.
I'm focused. This job right now is my priority. I don't want you to know that.
Yes. Yes.
However, down the line, these things I'm interested in, right? This current job isn't going to be the job that I retire in. And so how can we work together to help me get there, right?
Mhm.
What experiences, what projects I could take on in addition to my current work to help me expand,
Mhm.
right? And then once it's time for the next opportunity, how can we work together for you to help me get to that next opportunity, whether under
Mhm.
your purview or somewhere else? And
Yep.
then really, if there's a better opportunity for somewhere else, my hope is that you support me in that too. And
Mhm.
so I had that transparent conversation with a number of my leaders at Cedar Health and other
Mhm.
organizations, and they supported it. And for
Yep.
me, I think especially as we look at the younger generations coming up, as a leader, you have to be intentional in having those conversations, right?
Yes.
Because they're going to look regardless, right? If you want to leave, you're going to leave. But I think people connect and are willing to run through the wall for you even more when they know that you don't only care about what they do, but who they are as a person, right? And
Mhm.
then, and so for me, I'm having that transparent conversation with leaders all the time. And
Mhm.
again, everybody doesn't want or need to be the CEO of a system of
No.
a company. It's really about how can we help you to that next step? And some
Yep.
people want to focus on amplifying and growing their current role and doing more things within the current space. That's fine.
Yep.
And some people want to help and move forward in new roles and new positions.
Yep.
And I think that to add, Michelle, I think sometimes leaders may not want to have that conversation with the fear of losing somebody, right?
Exactly.
But I think as a leader, you have to be intentional about the way you build your team.
Mhm.
And it needs to be some level sense of, I'm a football fan, right? It needs to be the QB2, right? The backup, right? The
Yep.
person, some level of redundancy, if you will. But
It's succession planning.
it is. It is. And it's not going to be perfect, right? If you got a rock star director and they leave and they win the lottery and they leave today, you got to replace them today with somebody
Yep.
else. That person is not going to be the greatest director ever and replace them,
No.
at a one-on-one level. But they may be able to get 60% of the job done, and you have the resources, the structure, and the support to get the other 40% done eventually.
Mhm.
And so that needs to become part of your DNA because once you have that perspective, of structure, of process, of resources, and the next man or one man up, you're able
Mhm.
to then have the conversations with people how to elevate them and move forward, whether it's with
Yeah.
the role or
It's
something.
so interesting you were talking because we're talking about leadership from two different perspectives.
Yeah,
One of them is me as an upcoming leader, right? Being very transparent with people that, about where I aspire to be, what's going on, so that because I'm planting seeds.
yeah,
They're at different tables than I'm at.
yeah,
Okay. So when those conversations are happening at those different tables, I'm now in their mind about an opportunity because their brain is scanning all the time. They can't help themselves
yeah, yeah, yeah,
because I planted the seed,
yeah, yeah,
right? So their brain is scanning all the time at those tables that they're at with those conversations that I'm not there,
yeah,
but I am. The other perspective that I heard you say is from a leader perspective, if you had someone up and coming and they come to you being very open and honest about what their aspirations are, support them
yeah,
because number one, you're going to get someone who's highly engaged with working with you and doing the best freaking job they can do.
absolutely.
And you're also going to demonstrate as a leader that you're not holding people back.
Yeah,
But people are going to want to be on your team.
absolutely.
And it's not like it was back in traditionalist generation
Yeah,
that, someone started at the company and then 40 years later they retired at the same company. Yeah, that can still happen,
yeah.
but it's not as common as what it is today. So it is like figure out how you help someone navigate. And the thing is, they may come back. If
They
they
will.
leave the
Yeah.
organization, there could be an opportunity to come back. But if you're not there to help support them and be open, they may not come back.
Yep. Exactly. Exactly. And I think it's also important for the person that is looking to grow in their career, you had to make sure that you're executing what you're currently responsible for too. I think
Yes.
sometimes people can be so focused on the next thing and the next opportunity when you make the next paycheck. And if you're not executing on what you are currently
Mhm.
responsible for a noticeable and impactful way, people are not going to vouch for you. And so you
Yeah.
need to make sure you got your ducks in a row, your house in order before you worry
Yeah.
about getting a penthouse
Yeah.
next, right? So that's
Um, Gina Temple had said something in a podcast when we had her, and it was, when you're present, be present.
Yep.
And it's the same
Yeah.
thing with your career. This isn't about, I'm going to get this experience, check the box. I'm going to get this, check the box. This is literally, you're in the moment, living it,
Yep.
doing it, getting the experience, being fully present,
Yep.
and also having conversations about what comes next.
Yep.
So,
Yep. I totally
um,
agree. Totally agree.
thank you. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you.
Thank you.
I don't want to go this long before we chat again. So, because it's been more than a minute.
Yeah. Yeah. We had to catch
Um,
up. We had to catch up though.
we had to catch up, and
Yeah.
we'll do it again. I'm
Absolutely.
here for you. So if you need any help with anything or want someone to soundboard with, I'm here for you, sir.
I
Um,
appreciate it,
I
Michelle.
I do miss those times.
Thank you. I missed those
So
times too.
thank you. So this has been Leadership Soundbites with Michelle and Vaughn Williams. And until next time, please like, share, subscribe. Thank you.
Thanks, Michelle.